Good evening, Steelers fans. Welcome back to another episode of the SteelerFury.com podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Coleman. You know me as Smith is Smoking on the message boards, joined by my fellow cohorts, my stalwart cohorts, Corey Karbowski and Will Massasek. Gentlemen, how are we doing this evening?
Pretty good.
Was that the end of football season? Was it over last weekend, or was starting up again? I'm confused.
But believe it or not, Will, that was only the halfway point of this miserable season. So we still have some games to go. Actually, more than half when you think about it, because we are only 2-6. Oh joy!
Oh man!
With that being said, week 9 certainly had some surprises. Most notably, the one coming out of my own home city here. I didn't know teams really wanted to hire ESPN analysts as head coach. With Jeff Saturday taking over as the head coach of those Indianapolis Colts. Boy, I don't know about you guys, but I just feel like this was a pure PR stunt. Like they're just trying to make sure people still come to games, sell tickets, that type of deal. We were talking before we got started here, Steeler Fury fans. Corey mentioned that this will be Sam Ellinger's third offensive coordinator in 3 games. Is that correct, Corey?
Yep, third in 3 games.
Yeah, so at least, Will, maybe we aren't as bad as we tend to make out to be. At least we didn't go hire fire Mike Tomlin, go hire Ryan Clark to coach the team. And on top of that, put a guy who's never called plays. Oh, wait, that's Matt Canada every week. A complete newbie out there.
It seems like he's never played.
Right. So, I don't know. Maybe we don't have it as bad as what we thought. I don't know.
Well, first of all, before I address your question about, whether it's a bad move for them or not, if you follow me on Twitter, you know the answer to this question, but do you know the only other head coach in NFL history who never coached in college or the pros before getting an NFL head coaching job?
I have a bad feeling I know the answer to this.
Well, the thing is, his name is Guy Chamberlain. He was a player for the much like Jeff Saturday. He was a really good player. He was maybe the MVP of the league, but more so than Jeff Saturday. But he took over the Bears, ended up coaching them to the championship twice, and then went to 2 other teams and also coached for the championship. He has the best win percentage of any NFL head coach in history. So let's hope from the Colts' point of view, they're hoping that maybe they get that kind of a return out of the investment. But the positive that I can say is he's an interim head coach, and maybe it's just an audition. Maybe it's like, hey, we like this guy. We wanted him to be part of our organization. And we have kind of nothing to lose by throwing him in as an interim coach, as opposed to we went through this exhaustive search in the off season and we can't pick him then because then there's all these other options available to you and so on. So why not give this guy a shot? If he proves he's totally in over his head during the course of the season, what have you really lost?
I guess, Corey, how do you look at this situation?
I think they're tanking for the top of the draft. There's not really much to explain there, I don't think. There had to have been not only better options in the building, but it's kind of baffling. It really is. I feel like it's unprecedented, which it is in the modern NFL, to hire someone. His high school team that he was a head coach for was 3-7.
Oh, solid. Hey,
solid, yeah.
He's only 2 games off of 500.
But did he ever coach at Maryland? Is he from Western Pennsylvania?
To climb out of the cellar, all their offense needs to do is not be dead last. And the team that they have to jump is the Pittsburgh Steelers with their stinker of a game where they scored, 3 points. They went from 31 to 32, knocking us out of last place. So we're going to be in a tight race for that one. So maybe Jeff Saturday can get them to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers offense.
Yeah, that's because we haven't played yet. They have a game up on us. So, we still have room to make up ground in a sense. But yeah, just kind of a crazy situation. I read an article from The Athletic. I can't remember who wrote it, but it was just like, it was interviewing executives around the league, and it was just like, what are they doing? This is totally out of left field. This is totally crazy. So it's the only
I guess
thing we're talking about right now.
Jeremy, or maybe Corey, you guys know, are interim head coaches exempt from the ruling rule?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it must
Well,
be.
it's
That's the
funny
other
you bring
thing.
that up because my buddy Jake actually messaged my football like group chat today, and he was just like, "So what about the Rooney Rule? Do they even have to go through that?" But I mean, since it's not the official, position, my guess is,
Right.
Corey's right there that it doesn't really apply in this situation. But that's an interesting argument to make.
Well, once
Nonetheless.
again, it's that another reason to bring him in as the interim coach, because they'd never be able to justify hiring him in a competition with other candidates. So this is his chance their chance to get him in the building if they think he's really a brilliant, person to have in there or something. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
You asked Jim Irsay. He said, Why am I in consideration for this?" He said it on the press conference. So, like his introductory press conference, he said, "Why was I in consideration for this?" I asked him. I didn't see the answer, but I don't think he really said it. But it's
Well,
just
he's
shocking.
he's a connection to their glory years is the only thing I can come up with. Maybe they're worried about their culture in their building or something, but I don't know. It just feels like they have, much like the Steelers, that they had a situation where their front office guy is they're supposed to have this great front office and great GM and guy consideration as coach of the year, and somehow when they don't have a quarterback, they couldn't figure out how to make it work. That sounds familiar to me.
Right.
And
Yeah. I will say I have heard that Chris Ballard's job is safe. That I actually heard this on Thursday before this weekend's slate of games. Can't say how I know because I don't want to, betray that person's trust or whatever, but there's a certain someone I know that lives next door to a Colts executive. And he definitely got the sense when they were talking last week that it was more of when Reich is gone, if anything. They didn't think Reich was just making enough and doing enough for this roster that they think is good enough to at least go out there and not look like shit. So, which is what they have done, So,
Standard is the standard.
oh, yeah. Let's not talk about standards. We might actually have to talk about Pittsburgh tonight.
But can I say what I think is the second most important story of this weekend in football?
Absolutely. Will, take it away.
Josh Allen's elbow. I don't know if you guys were like as I was watching the game, but on the next to last throw that he had in the game, he was grabbing and rubbing at his elbow, and it looked eerily familiar, like exactly what Ben did after he threw that ball that was like his next to last pass in the NFL. Mm-hmm. I mean, before his elbow surgery. And the concerning thing is, you guys might not remember, but during his rookie season, he had a UCL injury, and there was talk that he might need Tommy John surgery at that time. So this to me is no small thing. It's I mean, you're talking about the guy who arguably is the best quarterback in the league right now, and there's a question of like, does he miss time? Is it not that serious? Is it something that he'll need surgery for? There's a lot of that could really shake up the scene in the NFL for not just this year but years to come.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if that happens, I think Kansas City becomes the favorite to kind of win the AFC or whatever. But I mean, it's no small thing for the Bills to fall out of the lead in their division. Jets pulled off another, pulled off the stunner and beat them this week. And I don't think anyone was giving them much of a chance, but they did it. And now that I think they're tied for, I think the Jets are in first place in the AFC East. I think
they're a half game back.
Half game is very say. I know it's close. And then honestly, the Dolphins are, the Dolphins are right on the heels too. So that could be a very interesting division. If let's face it, if Josh Allen misses any time, that could theoretically push them out of the playoffs if they can't even be second in their own division. A lot has to happen for that to happen, but we all saw.
They're still pretty good. They're still pretty good even with their backup. Like, so I'm not. Maybe they couldn't win the toughest games remaining on their schedule, but I think it'd be difficult for them to get that knocked out. But never stranger things have happened.
Who is their backup?
remember watching in the preseason and thinking, wow, they're loaded at every position. Hard for me to look right now, but let me see.
Case Keenum.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Gotcha.
They
Darn
keep the
it!
ship
It's too
stable.
bad we can't trade a Mitch Trubisky. We're past the deadline. What a
I think
bummer.
I'd take Case Keenum over Trubisky, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, I was
If I want to win games, yeah.
That's what I mean. It's like it's not a beauty contest, but I think Case Keenum is pretty good, especially, they run the ball well. He can distribute the ball like great receivers. I don't like I would pick them to beat Minnesota even without Josh Allen this weekend. Although there's been no announcement like that Allen's going to miss any time. But even if he did, like I would still take them over a team like Minnesota.
Gotcha.
Against Patrick Mahomes, maybe not.
Right. But yeah, just kind of interesting news from this weekend. Obviously, a lot that could shake up. With Indianapolis moving on, that's 2 head coaches now that have been fired this cycle. I think we could see some others be following suit here pretty quickly if Nathaniel Hackett falls on his face in Denver again. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me to see Josh McDaniels.
He's horrible. That's been getting on me all year. That is the most talented roster with the worst production. Like the disparity between talent level and what they're doing is worse than the Cardinals, worse than the Packers, worse than the Bucks. There's no excuse for that one. Young QB, young receiver that you traded for, a running back that can run, and you just can't find a way to win games.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking to a proud Devontae Adams fantasy football owner here.
Ooh.
I've been pretty pissed. I drafted him pretty high, guys.
Yeah. That's terrible.
But yep. So, all right, gentlemen, let's move ahead to our game this week. It's odd that we have a game. It felt like this past weekend almost no football was being played just because the Pittsburgh Steelers weren't playing, in my opinion. But we've got
it was just a relief to see some better football. Like it improved the quality of football by a large percentage.
Yeah, maybe that's the way to look at it. But the Saints are marching into Pittsburgh. Yeah, I know.
Very
See
nice.
what I did there. But yeah, I think this game will be pretty interesting just because honestly, the Saints have not been good this year. Corey, why don't we hop into our matchups? Why don't you take a matchup we need to look out for this weekend?
Wherever the Honey Badger lines up, I think you pick that guy, and that's the matchup to watch because he has been bad this year. There were rumors that he'd fallen off a little with the Chiefs, but it's been a step above this year of mediocrity. He's getting beat deep. He's not breaking how he used to. That's a guy where maybe it's Steven Sims. Maybe I don't know what we're going to do. Maybe throw George Pickens in the slot. Whatever we do where we've probably got guys going inside and pressing him and attacking him vertically, which is doubtful to happen regardless. That's just something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I agree. I watched that, Baltimore New Orleans game last night, and they said Matthew's name a few times, but I mean, it was when he had gotten beat. It wasn't him making a play. It was him falling off a tackle or not being in the right spot. So it'll be interesting there. Will, did you have a comment on that?
Yeah, well, in his defense, I think he's been they've been forced to have him pay more attention to the run, which will make it really difficult for him in coverage. But I think he's the guy that's been cleaning up in the run game a little bit. So there is that factor to it. The other thing is, you talk about matchup with Steven Sims or George Pickens in the slot. You forgot about Gunnar Olszewski. I mean, that's the match. Gunnar and Honey Badger. They're talking about getting the ball to new faces. After the bye, and I think this is the kind of thing they're talking about. So for me, my matchup is Jameis Winston. I think it's almost certain now that Jameis Winston is going to start. That there were rumbles that they almost started him last week, so he's healthy and he won the job. In the preseason and so on. So I suspect they go to Jameis Winston. And to me, that's the matchup there is with the people who put together the film to prepare the defense. So because it's just so their offense is just so different with Jameis running it than it is with the Red Rifle. So I suspect that they're going to look quite a bit different on offense. But it's just a function of if Winston is like, to me, that even doing the matchups for this are difficult without knowing who's going to play and who isn't going to play. They had injuries to Pete Warner, to Marcus Davenport. There's a possibility that what's his name? Bless him, the wide receiver
Landry.
Yeah, that Jarvis Landry might play. That could be a radically different looking team, depending on who suits up and who doesn't. And same with the Steelers and Watt. So I guess that's what I would say. If I'm forced to talk about something that we're more likely to happen, that would be, I guess, Watt, TJ Watt. Is he 100%? He's going up against tackles for New Orleans that maybe didn't struggle as much as their interior offensive line did on Monday night, but we're still, questionable. It would seem like that's a matchup that really favors the Steelers.
Mm.
Yeah, I was even going to say, everything depends on the health in this game. We don't know if we are going to see TJ Watt. Even if we do, it'll probably be in a limited capacity. But I think this, especially obviously if Watt plays, I think we have some very enticing matchups with our outside linebackers versus their left tackle, James Hurst, right tackle, Ryan Ramczyk. Ramczyk's the better of the two. Hurst is a turnstile. I mean, I think Alex Highsmith could have a huge day against James Hurst. And honestly, their interior offensive line has not been that great either. Whether it's Cesar Ruiz, shifting to center, he's their right guard. Eric McCoy at center, Andres Pete at left guard. I mean, none of these guys are, upper tier offensive linemen. Even though I liked a few of them coming out, ironically enough. They just haven't played well this year. And maybe you're right. Maybe that changes with Jameis Winston back there or not. But one thing I do expect the Saints to do is potentially go more vertical this week because Winston's got the arm to push it downfield. That's where the other matchup that I'm a little worried about. I know Chris Olave is a rookie, but he is very good already. He is slippery. And especially with us adjusting to kind of more man coverage, introducing William Jackson this week, he's probably a new face that's going to play a little bit this weekend. So it'll just be interesting to see how much the Saints want to push the ball downfield with our man coverage. So any other matchups you guys think we should watch out for?
I think I've got one, and that is one I want to mention that Tomlin said today something interesting that we've been banging on the table for weeks is that Warren might earn himself the starting job. But speaking of that, Pete Werner versus both of our running backs and Pat Freiermuth. Pete Werner, so Matt Milano and other names blanking on me. Logan Thomas, Fred Warner, those guys have been the three talked about this year. Pete Werner's been really, really good this year. I think he's been
absolutely
by far the most positive part of that defense. He's a 245, 250, and he is fast. I mean, I watched him because I'm an hour away from New Orleans. I watch a lot of Saints games. Every single game, he is shutting down swing screens, drags. I mean, just anything across the field. He's chasing it down from the middle of the field. So I think him versus anyone who lines up within the box, I think that's going to be something to keep an eye on because he might just shut it down.
Was Werner the same draft year as Bush? I think he was.
Let's see.
I remember. Well, let's put it this way. I remember that I sort of like so many linebackers that people hype up. I'm not really a big fan of it because I'm more interested in guys that can be a tough linebacker and solid in the run game, but who can actually cover guys and do things that most linebackers can't do. Like I'm looking for outlier traits. And I remember
he is a second-year guy.
Okay, so yeah, he's 1 year after. But I was like, when I saw Pete Werner's tape, people weren't really talking about him at all, and I just thought this is a guy that's like built for the NFL. Like he'll be a better NFL linebacker than he was in college. And it's, you know, it just doesn't really look, he doesn't look like that guy if you just eye him up, like you picked him, you know, out of a crowd. But yeah, I think he's turned into a really solid linebacker. And I mean, I would like, that would be a tremendous upgrade for a defense like the Steelers to have that guy in the middle.
Ooh,
But this thing with Jamie Warren getting more playing time, like, man, I'll believe it when I see it. Like maybe that means to him, you know, like a couple more touches a game, but still you're going to trot Najee Harris out there and, you know, give him 20 touches. So you know, maybe, I don't know. Their situation with everything right now on offense is just it's so regressed into, you know, something that sometimes can put some yards in the middle of the field, but just like sustaining long drives is a problem. Penalties for the offensive line is a problem. And the quarterback play has been, you know, inarguably worse than it was with even Mitch Trubisky. And that's really saying something.
Yep. So since we were on the topic of Pete Werner real quick, does anyone know where he's from? Oh,
Your
that's right.
hometown?
He's right here in my backyard. He's an Indianapolis kid.
Ah, okay.
Yep. That's a kid that I sure wish my Hoosiers would have gone after, but they let Ohio State go ahead and take him. So kind of along the lines of what you said, Will. Honestly, I wasn't that high on him coming out of Ohio State. Personally, I wasn't sure he would translate to the NFL, but it's good to know that I can always get one wrong here or there. So with that being said, since we kind of got back on the topic of talking about some other teams, let's go ahead and get to our pick segment this week. I do think there are a few interesting matchups this week. Let's go with first game. Will, we're going to start with you. Seattle is headed to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is favored by 2.5. What do you think?
Well, this is in Germany, right? So,
that's right. This is the Munich game. Yes, good call.
You know, when I was thinking at first that it was in Tampa, I would definitely have picked the Bucks to pull kind of the upset in this game. But the German thing and going to Europe throws me for a loop. Like I'm not sure if there's, you know, what the effects will be, if anything, of that game. But I kind of saw, unlike, you know, Aaron Rodgers, I saw a little bit of life in Tom Brady in the adverse situation. Like things weren't really going right for him. The guys he's thrown to were dropping the ball. His offensive line was not protecting him. And yet Tom Brady figured out a way to win that game against a pretty good team. So I'm going to take the Bucks narrowly in this game.
Okay. Corey?
I'm pretty comfortable with going Seattle here. I think they're playing just good football. They have a good run game. Their quarterback is willing to push it. And even though there's some life with the Buccaneers, I'm really not sure what they do well still. Like I'm not really moved by the 16-13 win over the Rams. It took 60 throwing attempts from Tom Brady, and Seattle D's bad, but I feel like they'll be able to keep the Bucs off the field. I feel like the Bucs can't run the ball. So, if you're relying on 40-year-old Tom Brady, who even then, I don't think his 60, he threw 60 times. I don't think he had 300 yards, did he?
No, it was a struggle to stay protected long enough to throw it more than 5 yards. Yes, that was the biggest problem going on.
I'm just not sure if with how Geno will throw the ball downfield and how they can run the ball. I just don't think the Bucs have the offensive firepower to not only keep up with them, but maybe even keep it within 10. I think Seattle might run away with this ugly game where media gets talking again.
Yeah, you're logically correct. I just have, kind of have a hunch that it won't necessarily be that easy for them. There's something about the travel and going to a new place and everything. It's going to be. It always sort of throws things for a loop, I think.
Yeah, I truly think this could go either way, but right now I have to go with Seattle. They are the more consistent football team, week in, week out. Their defense is playing well. They're not great against stopping the run, but right now Tampa Bay's not running the ball very well. Leonard Fournette's not playing well. There's been some talk about Rachaad White taking more of a maybe not say lead role per se, but just taking more offensive snaps this week, getting more reps out there on the field. But Seattle as a team that I didn't think would do absolutely anything this year, who has completely thrown the entire NFL for a loop. I just think Seattle's got more of the moxie, that they're consistent. They've got momentum. I know Tampa Bay got a little bit of momentum, but I mean, how bad can the Rams play defense on that last series to let them march all the way down the field? I mean, so I don't think that happens with Seattle. I think Seattle wins this game probably by a touchdown. In all honesty, I like Seattle there.
Just quickly, Corey mentioned Seattle's run game. Would you guys take Kenneth Walker or Bryce Hall?
Oh,
after seeing him this far, because I thought Kenneth Walker was way better. I couldn't believe that people were really pumping up Bryce Hall. They've both been pretty good this year, but I'm just curious what your thoughts were having seen him for half a year.
So, I mean, it's kind of played out how I thought it would. I thought Kenneth Walker was the better runner. I thought Bryce Hall was better out the backfield, and I thought he was a better pass protector. So, I think it kind of depends on what you have around them, because I mean, I really think it's dead even. If you don't have receivers and you need someone to just really go, I think I'd take Kenneth Walker, because I think he could be more of a dynamic primary rusher. But if you have other pieces around Bryce Hall and they can't load the box on him, I think he's going to make guys miss in space. And I think they're both good backs. I think it depends on who's around them. I really do. I think if you have more weapons, Bryce Hall's a little bit more versatile, where he can pass protect a little better, stay on the field, keep the offense moving, get the short yardage.
Yeah, I would have to say I liked Bryce Hall over Kenneth Walker in the draft process. Bryce Hall's just got a little more pep in his step. He's got a little bit more long speed, and that's something I really value in a running back. I value those guys that can really get down the field in a hurry. So personally, Bryce Hall was my number one running back, and he's the guy I'd take. But Kenneth Walker's played great. Not taking anything.
Well, so you obviously with that description, you must really have liked the Najee Harris pick for the Steelers.
Let's just say I knew that was an inevitable pick by the Pittsburgh Steelers. So,
yeah, I just mean in terms of that breakaway speed that you really value.
Yeah, I mean, the guy I wanted was Javonte Williams that year. I really wanted us to trade down and take Javonte because he's got that first step.
Yeah,
quick.
Well, ETN's basically a rookie, and look what he's doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I liked ETN too. I liked all three of them. So that being said, let's take it off to another game. Let's go with two of the worst teams in the NFL. Indianapolis has to go to Las Vegas. Las Vegas is favored by 6.5. Corey, you get the apple first here. What are your thoughts on this one?
You know, we talked about both of these teams, and I think the Indianapolis Colts ride the Jeff Saturday wave. They're full of emotion. They're ready to rock and roll. Their savior, Jeff Saturday, and I think they're going to come out hyped up. Sam Ellinger is going to do Sam Ellinger things, and I think they're going to win the game.
Oh my God, Corey, you're about to get kicked off the show, man. That's a horrible take. No, I'm just joking.
Doing Sam Ellinger things would involve, like vomiting on his own shoes, maybe. Oh man, somebody has to. Well, I guess someone doesn't have to win this game technically. Does Indianapolis already have a tie? Who did Houston tie?
Yeah, they tied with Houston to start off the year.
Yeah. Man, have the Raiders been bad? It's hard to believe actually how bad they've been. I kind of, I want to say maybe that Indianapolis will ride a little wave from like the changes, but I sort of don't think so. I mean, I guess for the Raiders, if the Raiders lose that game, their coaching staff is going to get fired. Like, how would they possibly be able to keep their job the head coach keep his job if they lost to Indianapolis this
To
week.
Jeff Saturday.
To a team that's obviously tanking. Like the team wants to tank so bad. All you got to do is get out there and take it away from them. And if you can't even do that after the big Devontae Adams move and everything, like, oh boy. So yeah, I think the Raiders will, for at least a week, get a reprieve by playing a team that doesn't want to win, really.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Raiders win this, but I don't think they cover. I think 6.5 is a joke. I would definitely take the Colts just to cover.
I thought that was the over under.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah, based
6.5
teams.
Oh God.
But yeah, I appreciate you guys humoring me with that selection of a game of the week. But let's
game of
see.
the WEAK.
Yeah, week. Yeah. Arizona traveling to the Los Angeles Rams. Rams are favored by 3. Thoughts here?
This matchup might be almost as bad as the previous one we just talked about. I mean, really, they just have better name recognition. But
Speechless.
Corey.
Oh man, this is just it's really a sad game because both teams. This was probably a great matchup when everyone was looking at it before the season, and we can't even give a pick. I mean, the Rams' interior O line is
Garbage.
Like, I don't even.
They should have listened to Corey and I drafted for them in a Twitter mock this year, and we gave him. Did we give him was Jurgens, or did we give him the Cole Strange? I can't remember. We gave him.
Yeah, we picked. I think we picked Strange, and I think we took like Poe later in the draft just because we're like, hey,
it's like
use a little more.
I think Strange was our first pick. Like the first Rams pick wasn't until like the second or third round or something, and he went in the first. So yeah, I think Anyway, I'll throw something out there. I will say I think if memory serves correctly, in the same way that San Francisco always beats the Rams always beat the Cardinals. I think that's one of those division things. If I remember correctly, so I will take the Rams to sort of stave off their implosion another week. I mean, here's the thing: some of these teams, like the Colts, Corey says clearly they're tanking. I think they're only a game out of their division lead. So it's like some of these divisions are so bad right now that not totally out of it, even at like 3 and 5. So, but I think the Rams maybe just match up well with Arizona. I don't know what else to say about this game.
I'm just to throw my pick in there. I think the Cardinals. I think maybe Kyler Murray finds himself again. And I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is back. He's been back now. So they have that. Cardinals. I don't even want to talk about this one very much. I think the Colts were way more fun than this. The Cardinals died too. Sure.
All right. Well, with that, I'll take the Cardinals too. I just think at least the Cardinals know how to score.
You have to throw up a little bit in your mouth when you say that.
Right? But I mean, the Rams have struggled to score this year, no matter who they're playing, and I think that's the kind of the crux of this game. At least Arizona might be able to put up some points. So not with a lot of confidence, I'm taking the Cardinals. Now let's go with a better game. Let me up my game here. My first few picks here of games to pick have not been great. Let's go. The Chargers are headed to San Fran. San Fran is favored by 7.
Ooh.
Corey.
We say it almost every week. That's one of those games that just feels off with the line. Like, what do they know? Herbert's injured. They haven't played that well. Staley no longer looks like a genius, even though I was a little doubtful last year. I mean, what, he single-handedly sent the Steelers to the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
So that was a coaching disaster class, I thought. But San Fran plays good football. The line's really throwing me off. If this was like a 3.5 or 4.5 point line, I think I'd comfortably go the 49ers. But this kind of feels like just a little too big. So I think I'm going to go to the Chargers solely because of that. I think the 49ers are better, but something's just been off with the Chargers. But I think the line's too big. Chargers cover and win. Chargers win.
It's in San Francisco, correct?
Yep.
I mean, either way, the 49ers have a home field advantage, but in San Francisco, the Chargers, speaking of situations that just seem a little bit off, I mean, I feel like there must be something with the new stadium in LA, because those two teams are really like, you look at their teams on paper and you think, oh, they're going to be pretty good this year. And it just hasn't worked out for them. As I recall, the Chargers have some injury issues, and I think that may be part of what's going on with them. But yeah, I think the thing about Herbert, there's a possibility that in any given game he could sort of elevate to a point where he enables them to beat teams they really shouldn't beat. But are both Bosa's playing this game?
That's a good question.
I still haven't figured out which Bosa plays for which team, actually.
Me neither.
Nick plays for the 49ers.
Yeah. No, I know. I actually know, because we had it earlier this year on the show, and we had to figure it out. But I sort of feel like it might not be so easy for Herbert to sit back and pick them apart. I low key like what they do on defense. I know that a lot of the focus with San Francisco is what they do with their offensive line and run game. I just think the Chargers defense doesn't. I think they basically have one good pass rusher, and one really good safety, and the rest of what they're put out there on defense is not so hot. So I think that's a team that San Francisco, they play this team offensive game. I think you can't really have a lot of weak links on your defense when you play them. So I'm going to take San Francisco to win. The 7 points, I mean, in a way that makes me feel like they know something I don't know. Maybe I had to go along with them, one of those lines. So I guess I will hold my nose and say, the Niners will cover, but that's going to be hard. I agree with Corey on that.
Yeah, I think San Fran actually wins this game pretty comfortably. I don't know. I have a feeling that San Fran was that team that started off the year slow because they wanted to play Trey Lance, had to go back to Garoppolo, but now that they have CMC, they're getting healthier. I feel like San Fran's a team that keeps getting better and better as the season goes on, and I think there's something to say with that. But Will, I think you hit the nail on the head. The Chargers are just dealing with some really bad injury luck here. They're down to Josh Palmer as their number one wide receiver again, which he's
that's right.
He's pretty good.
Out.
Yeah, Allen's out. Williams
is out.
Yeah, Williams is out. So I just think there's a lack of playmakers there. I think Donald Parham is even out. It's like the backup.
Re-injured his hamstring and is out for, they think, another at least 4 weeks.
Right. Timeout. I want to change my pick. I didn't know the 49ers were also coming off a bye.
We talked to
that
it.
Changes everything. But
after hearing all the injuries,
right. But so I like the 49ers here. I just feel like they're a team that's getting better as the year goes on.
I want to ask a question to you two real quick. So let's say they keep getting better like the record shows, and because right now Trey Lance went out which week? Week 2. So they've been 3-3 since then. Let's say they finish out this year at 9 wins or 10 wins. Do you bench Jimmy Garoppolo, and what do you do with Trey Lance then if the 49ers come out, let's say win? I mean, this is the week NFC. Say they win 2 playoff games behind that run game and Jimmy Garoppolo game managing. What do you do with Trey Lance?
I keep him on the
Well-
bench. I never liked him anyway.
Well, I would say about Garoppolo that they already know he can lead you to get to be a playoff team. What they also know about him is that his performance in the postseason has been really questionable and pretty much what capped their ceiling. So I guess I'd answer your question with if he plays in the postseason and to a degree that elevates his team instead of being the reason that they are capped, then I think you could seriously think about keeping him and making it more long term and so on. But more likely, you want to be able to move him. I think that's the position they'd really like to be in, is they would like to be able to, figure out some way to get something in return for him and go back to figuring out if Trey Lance is the guy. I think that's what they want to do. But you're right. If it's, if they win a couple of playoff games and he's really looks great, then yeah, they're going to have to abandon ship.
Yep. So I'll keep my answer short and sweet there, Corey. Never liked him. Wouldn't have drafted him. But yeah. So, all right. Sounds like we're all taking the 49ers there. We're going to get to the real matchup of the week now. I wanted to save this one for last. Minnesota traveling to Buffalo. Buffalo is a 5.5-point favorite. And of course, that is presumptuous that Josh Allen will be playing. So, Will, I'll let you take this one first.
I think the Bills win and cover easily. And I think they'll even win and they'll cover whatever the new spread is if Allen's ruled out. I think this is a week they're still safe. Because for a week, a guy like Case Keenum can come in and be great. Long term for 5 or 6 weeks, I don't know, but like for a week. And I maintain that Minnesota is, they've played well enough to win the games that they could win, but I don't necessarily think they have been really impressive in doing any of it. I like where they're at. I mean, they're better than I thought they were, but still going to Buffalo is tough, man. And you're going into probably I don't know exactly what the weather situation is going to be in Buffalo this week, but it's rarely nice there to play football. So yeah, I'll take the Bills with their home field advantage and their better team.
Corey.
I'm gonna run through the Vikings schedule real quick. So they beat the Packers. They lost to the Eagles handily, 24-7. They beat the Lions. They beat the Saints. They beat the Bears. These are all narrow wins: 4 points, 3 points, 7 points. They beat the Dolphins. This was when the Dolphins were kind of funky, though. I would like to add that. I'm not sure if Tua was even playing in that game.
They were not. Skylar Thompson was.
Okay, or Teddy Bridgewater was. So
future Hall of Famer Skylar Thompson. Just say.
They beat the Tua-less Dolphins, then a narrow Cardinals win and a narrow Commanders win. This team feels very, very similar to how that extremely fraudulent Steelers team looked in 2020, right? Except they have Kirk Cousins instead of Big Ben. So they're just primed for an even bigger fall. This team's very fraudulent. I don't think they're very good, even if they're 7-1. I think the Bills, even without Josh Allen, I think they could win behind their a passing game with Case Keenum. I don't even think they'd need to really change much. I think they could beat this Vikings team and not change much. The roster's just so much better. I think they're better coached. The Vikings are fun, but they're not legit. I don't think at all.
Yeah, that sums it up.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all on the Buffalo bandwagon, like you guys said, with Josh Allen, without Josh Allen, with Case Keenum, without. Buffalo's just got a fantastic roster from top to bottom, and I think that's the true difference. Like you said, Minnesota really hasn't played anyone of note, and when they have, that they lost badly to the Eagles too. I mean, I know Minnesota's kind of put some things together, but I mean, if you look at who they beat, it's just not there. And they're just not consistent week in, week out. There's some weeks they can run it. There's some weeks they can pass it, but it's just too inconsistent. So that definitely taking Buffalo here. I think the Buffalo pass rush, is another thing. Minnesota's offensive line's improved, but you got to play Von Miller and Gregory Rousseau and all these other guys. I just don't see it. So I'll definitely take Buffalo to cover regardless.
Kirk Cousins might set a record for the number of throwaways and dump offs in this game. in a single NFL game. Yeah.
Captain Checkdown, yes. So, all right, the 5-star matchup of the week. The Saints are headed to Pittsburgh. Saints are favored by 2.5 right now. That's an interesting line to me. Will, let you take the apple first.
Oh, I wanted. I want to be able to pick the Steelers in the game, and I guess that, like we were talking earlier about Seattle playing Tampa, that logically, yeah, Seattle's a better football team. Should probably win that game. I just kind of didn't feel like they're going to. This game, I mean, I pretty much make it simple. If Andy Dalton starts for the Saints, the Steelers are going to win this game. That's where I'm at. If Jameis Winston starts, I'm not sure what I think about this game. I don't really have a lot of faith in the Steelers coming off the bye that suddenly they're going to look, magnificent on offense, especially now that they, for whatever Chase Claypool wasn't, he was a big part of their offense, really. So you're going to take that away from an offense that already wasn't working at all. And like I said, effectively, you're replacing it with Gunnar Olszewski. I mean, it's like, okay, like, they don't really have somebody to step in there and really press the issue as the third wide receiver. So I like Steven Sims. They just don't seem to want to use him very often. So I'm interested to see how they'll deal with that. So long story short, I guess I will say that, my heart tells me the Steelers will probably win this game, whether it's better for them in the long run or not. And that's presuming that TJ Watt plays. If Watt plays, or if Andy Dalton plays, like that, those two are really big factors in this game, I think. So if this pick could be wrong, if that's not really the outcome, who actually shows up and plays? Yeah, I think New Orleans is a little bit beat up. Steelers coming off a bye, and it's a chance for them to look at least confident. So I'll call it Steelers 16-7 over the Saints.
Corey?
So TJ Watt's going to be a huge factor. I think Steelers coming off a bye, I'm not sure we get DeMonte Casey back. That's one thing. So I was high on Casey. I think he's going to do a lot with making the secondary work. William Jackson plays. We're going to have maybe not good depth, but depth in the secondary. So that'll be there. I'm not sure, and this could look horrible after the game. I'm not sure the Saints can beat us throwing the ball, which is how teams have really lit us up. And I think that they're going to be coming off a game where the Ravens are a tough team to play. They run the ball a lot. They're coming off a Sunday night football game or Monday night football game. So a short week, traveling to Pittsburgh with TJ Watt coming back, with the Steelers coming off a bye. I mean, if I don't pick this game right, I'm not going to pick another game for us to win. Like, if I don't pick us to win this, there's not going to be a game for the rest of the year.
That's how I feel about this. I was afraid to not pick them because, yeah, sorry, Corey, but yeah, that's a scary proposition.
Yeah, like if we don't win this, and I don't know another game that I pick us to win except for maybe a Browns game where Deshaun Watson might be back, but maybe we put up 16 points, 17 points, which feels it doesn't even feel right saying, because I don't know if we can. I don't know if we can put up 17 points.
Their defense, when they're healthy, not too bad. Yeah.
Maybe TJ Watt gets us like a strip sack where we get the ball on the 10 and we can punch in a touchdown and maybe get another short field where we can hit a field goal where we can get all mad that we didn't go anywhere. But I think I'll say 17-14 Steelers win.
Gotcha. Yeah, Will, I'm with you. A lot changes if Dalton's behind center or if Winston's behind center. We talked about Winston starting. I'm going to, go under the presumption that Winston is going to start. I think Steelers roll this game. I think we win 35-17. Oh wait, this isn't
Whoa.
2018. This isn't 2018. My bad. My bad. My bad. I forgot. This is a whole new team. No, I do think we find a way to move the ball a little bit more this game. I'm going to go 20-14. I think 20-14 is the final.
20.
I know, right? 20.
20?
20. No.
Okay.
I just feel like the bye week is hitting us at the right time. Saints have a short week coming off Monday Night Football. I'm just not scared of anyone on their team not named Chris Olave or Alex Kamara. So
He has been a little rough lately.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I just like Pittsburgh's chances here. Pittsburgh's played some good defense lately. You know, they haven't been great. You know, I understand we got lit up by Philadelphia, but Philadelphia lights up a lot of people. But we've had some good defensive performances or whatever. So if we keep the game close, I think there's a chance Pittsburgh can pull one out here. So I will go Pittsburgh 20-14. Did anyone know real quick, because I forgot that he did not play in the Eagles game, Chris Boswell healthy for this game?
I believe he's healthy.
You haven't heard anything about it, so I'm assuming that he's healthy.
Yeah, I haven't either. So, you know, I think that's a plus too. So,
Yeah.
But yeah.
By the way, Marquez Callaway is a name to watch out for if Winston plays. They had a really good connection. And with the attention paid to Olave on the other side, he can, you know, maybe do something for you. The tight end as well. Forgotten who they're playing now at tight end, but Winston will also throw the tight end more, I think, also.
Jawan Johnson.
Yep.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that wraps up another episode of the SteelyFury.com podcast. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. I'm your host, Jeremy Coleman. You know me as Smith of Smoking on the message boards. Joined by Will Masasek. You know him as Bradshaw to Ben, and Corey Karbowski. You know him as Corey39. Gentlemen, hopefully we have some acceptable Pittsburgh Steeler football this week, because like you guys said, if it's not there, boy, the rest of this season is going to be very, very long, if it wasn't long enough already. So, that being said,
we will really seriously be talking about the draft.
Yeah, for real.
Jalen Carter.
Yeah, we can dream
He's
for
good.
now. We can dream for now. Knowing a Mike Tomlin-led Pittsburgh team will play ourselves out of that range anyway. Who knows? But with that being said, since we can't say here we go this year, how about let's just go get them.
There we went.
There we go.